Personal journal, Elise Vega, September 17th. I don't remember painting it. That's the thought that woke me at 3:27 a.m., dragging me from a dreamless sleep to stand barefoot on the cold hardwood of my loft. The canvas stared back at me from across the room, illuminated by the ambient glow of the city filtering through my windows. A painting I have no memory of creating. It's not unusual for artists to lose themselves in their work, to enter that trance-like state where time becomes meaningless and creation flows without conscious thought. But this was different. This was wrong. The canvas depicts a woman standing at a window, her back to the viewer. She's looking out at a cityscape I don't recognize, though something about it seems familiar. The brushwork is unmistakably mine, those quick, confident strokes I've spent years perfecting, but the palette is all wrong. I never work with those muted blues, those sickly yellows. And the composition, it's unsettling in a way I can't articulate. Like something vital has been removed, leaving only negative space where meaning should exist. I checked my phone, no missed calls, no strange texts. Just the date, September 17th, staring back at me like an accusation. According to my calendar, I should be preparing for my exhibition next month, but the canvases I'd planned for that series are nowhere to be found. Instead, this stranger stands in my studio. Sleep wasn't an option after that. I made coffee and sat cross-legged on the floor, studying the painting as morning gradually replaced night. My loft is on the 15th floor of a converted textile factory in the heart of downtown. The windows are tall and industrial, flooding the space with light that typically energizes me. Today, it only made the shadows seem deeper, the corners of my studio darker by comparison. At 6:15, my tablet chimed from the kitchen counter. I've set it to notify me of any updates to my digital portfolio, a habit born from having work stolen early in my career. The notification read simply, "File altered." That's when the first ripple of genuine fear passed through me. I unlocked the screen to find thumbnails of my work, pieces I remember painting, pieces that should exist, replaced with images I've never seen. The woman at the window appears in several, her face always hidden, the city beyond the glass always strange yet familiar. Did I make these? Could I have forgotten an entire series? I called Damien, my art dealer, but it went straight to voicemail. "It's Elise," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Something strange is happening with my work. Call me when you get this." The rest of the morning passed in a blur of confusion. I searched my loft for my original canvases, the ones I know I was working on for next month. The abstract cityscapes, the studies of light and movement that were to be my first solo exhibition in 3 years. I found only empty stretcher bars and used canvas and bottles of paint arranged with my usual precision. No works in progress, no sketches, nothing to suggest I'd been preparing for anything, except for that painting. And now there are 2 more. I found them stacked against the wall in the storage closet, variations on the same theme. The woman, the window, the city. In one, she's reaching toward the glass. In another, she's touching it, her fingers leaving impressions in what looks like condensation. I don't remember creating any of them. At noon, a knock at my door startled me so badly I knocked over a cup of brushes. It was Mrs. Abernathy from down the hall, asking if I'd heard anything unusual last night. Apparently, someone had been moving furniture at odd hours. No, I told her. I was asleep. It wasn't entirely a lie. I must have been asleep to have missed creating 3 complete paintings. "Well, keep an ear out, dear," she said, peering past me into my loft. Her eyes lingered on the painting now positioned on my easel. "That's new, isn't it? Not your usual style." Before I could respond, my tablet chimed again from inside. "Excuse me," I mumbled, closing the door perhaps too quickly. The alert was the same, "File altered." This time, my entire portfolio had been replaced. Every image, every piece I've created over the last 5 years, now shows variations of the window scene. Different angles, different times of day, but always the same woman, always the same strange city. I sat down hard on my stool, vertigo washing over me. This isn't possible. Digital files don't spontaneously change. Paintings don't create themselves. And memory, whatever else it might be, doesn't simply vanish without a trace. Unless it does. There was an article I read recently about a condition called confabulation, the creation of false memories to fill gaps in recall. It's common in certain neurological disorders. The mind, abhorring emptiness, manufactures events and experiences to maintain the illusion of continuity. Is that what's happening to me? Am I filling gaps I don't even know exist? I called my doctor's office, but they can't see me until next week. I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? That I don't remember making art that bears all the hallmarks of my technique? That my digital files are changing without my knowledge? They'd direct me to psychiatric services. As afternoon faded into evening, I found myself standing before the original painting again. Something about the cityscape beyond the window nagged at me, a familiarity I couldn't place. I took a photo and zoomed in on the buildings. They looked like downtown, but subtly wrong. Streets connecting in impossible ways, landmarks in places they shouldn't be. And then I noticed something else. In the lower right corner, almost invisible against the dark paint, is a tiny symbol. Not my signature, which I always place in the lower left. This is different, a small, stylized design that looks almost like a corporate logo. A circle with 3 lines radiating outward, like a simplified sunrise. Or perhaps a partial eye. My tablet chimed a third time. File altered. I ignored it, focusing instead on the symbol. Where have I seen this before? It feels important, a key to understanding what's happening. The light outside my windows has nearly faded now, the city transforming into its nighttime configuration of illuminated squares and rectangles. From 15 floors up, the streets look like circuits, the cars like data moving along predetermined paths. Somewhere in that grid is an answer. I'm sure of it. I've decided to keep this journal, to document whatever is happening to me. If my memory is truly compromised, I need an external record. Something I can trust when I can't trust myself. Tomorrow, I'll try Damien again. I'll photograph the paintings and the strange symbol. I'll back up this journal entry somewhere secure. For now, I've turned the paintings to face the wall. I can't bear to look at them anymore. At this woman I've apparently created but don't recognize. At this city that isn't quite my city. At what might be memories I never had. The tablet chimes again from the kitchen. I'm afraid to look. Personal journal, Elise Vega, September 18th. There are gaps forming, not just in my memory, but in my loft itself. I woke this morning to find empty spaces on my walls where paintings used to hang. Not the strange window scenes, but pieces I've owned for years. A Rothko print from college. A small watercolor my mother painted before she died. The framed sketch a former lover gave me when we parted ways. All gone, leaving only faint rectangles on the wall where dust hasn't settled. Did I take them down? Did someone else? The locks on my door show no signs of tampering, and nothing else appears to be missing. Just art. Just memories. I called Damien again. This time he answered, his voice thick with sleep despite it being almost noon. Elise? What's wrong? I told him about the paintings I don't remember creating, about my missing artwork, about the portfolio that's been replaced with images I don't recognize. Slow down, he said. You're not making sense. What new paintings? I described them, the woman, the window, the strange cityscape. A long pause followed. That sounds interesting. His tone shifted, professional curiosity replacing concern. Actually, I've been meaning to call you. There's been some buzz about your new direction. People are intrigued. What new direction? Damien, I'm telling you I don't remember making these. Artists often don't remember their most inspired work, he said dismissively. The subconscious takes over. You've been under a lot of pressure with the exhibition coming up. Maybe your mind is processing in ways you're not aware of. That's not. I'd like to see them, he interrupted. These window pieces. They sound like exactly the kind of evolution your work needs right now. The market is hungry for psychological depth, and if you're producing it without even trying. He laughed, but there was something hollow in the sound. I ended the call feeling worse than before. Damien has been my dealer for 5 years. He knows my work, my process. If he's excited by these paintings I don't remember creating, what does that say about the art I do remember making? Around 2 p.m., a knock at my door revealed a man I'd never seen before. Tall, with the kind of forgettable face that nevertheless commands attention. He introduced himself as Detective Marcus Reed. I'm investigating a series of incidents in this building, he said, showing me a badge that I examined carefully. Mind if I ask you a few questions? I let him in, suddenly self-conscious about the state of my loft. The paintings were still turned toward the wall, my easel empty, brushes scattered across the floor where I'd knocked them over yesterday. You're an artist? He asked, though it wasn't really a question. Yes, I have an exhibition next month. He nodded, making a note in a small book. Have you noticed anything unusual in the building recently? Strange noises, unfamiliar people, maintenance work that seemed out of the ordinary. I thought about Mrs. Abernathy's complaint about furniture moving at night, about my own lost time, about the paintings. Not really, I lied, unsure why. What kind of incidents are you investigating? Detective Reed's eyes scanned my loft, lingering on the backwards-facing canvases. Missing persons, primarily. 3 residents disappeared in the last month. No signs of forced entry, no evidence of struggle. Just gone. A chill slid down my spine. Which residents? The most recent was a Mr. Chun from the 12th floor. Before that, a Ms. Winslow from 16, and a Mr. Juarez from 14. He watched my reaction carefully. Did you know any of them? I shook my head. I've lived in this building for 3 years, but know few of my neighbors beyond Mrs. Abernathy. Artists aren't known for their socializing. Ms. Vega, Reed continued, do you ever experience gaps in your memory? Times when you can't account for your whereabouts or actions? My heart stuttered. Why do you ask? It's a standard question in these cases. His tone was neutral, but his eyes were sharp. Building security shows all 3 missing residents entering the elevator on their respective floors, but they never exit the building. It's as if they simply vanish between floors. My tablet chimed from the kitchen counter. File altered. Reed glanced toward the sound. Expecting a message? It's nothing, I said too quickly. Just a work notification. After he left, I checked my tablet. More portfolio changes, more window scenes. But now there were figures in some of them, silhouettes barely distinguishable from the shadows. Standing behind the woman. Watching her. Watching me. I spent the afternoon searching my loft for clues to my missing time. I found sketches I don't remember drawing, studies of hands pressed against glass, of distorted reflections, of that same small symbol that appears in the corner of the paintings. I found a receipt for art supplies dated 2 weeks ago, for materials I don't recall purchasing or receiving. And I found a business card tucked into my sketchbook. Dr. Naomi Chun, neuroscientist, specializing in memory disorders. The card bears the same symbol from the paintings. Chun, the same name as the missing resident from the 12th floor. I tried calling the number on the card, but it led to an automated system requesting a patient ID I don't possess. I tried searching Dr. Chun online, but found only academic papers from years ago, nothing recent. No practice location, no professional profile. As evening approached, I realized I couldn't remember eating anything today. The thought of food made my stomach turn, but I forced myself to order delivery. While waiting, I finally turned the paintings around again, studying them with fresh eyes. The woman's posture communicates tension, shoulders raised, spine rigid. She's not admiring the view, she's trapped by it. And the city beyond. I finally realized what bothers me about it. It's not just that the landmarks are in the wrong places. It's that they're from different cities entirely. A building from Chicago next to one from Boston. A bridge that looks like San Francisco's Golden Gate spanning a river that could only be the Hudson. It's a composite city, a confabulation. The delivery app notification startled me. The food had arrived. But when I opened my door, the hallway was empty except for a small paper bag containing my order. The delivery person had already left, or perhaps had never been there at all. As I ate, a notification from the building management appeared on my phone. Alert! Water service interruption scheduled for apartments 1200 to 1600 from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. for maintenance. We apologize for any inconvenience. Apartments 1200 to 1600. The floors where residents have disappeared. I'm writing this now as night settles over the city. The real city, not the impossible one in my paintings. I've checked my door locks twice. I've wedged a chair under the handle for good measure. I've placed my phone, tablet, and this journal where I can reach them easily from bed. I don't think I'll sleep tonight. I can't afford another blank space in my memory. Another canvas I don't remember painting. Another version of myself making art I don't recognize. There's one more thing. When I was checking the locks, I noticed something under my door. A thin piece of paper that hadn't been there before. A flyer from an art gallery. My gallery. Announcing an exhibition of new works by Elise Vega. Opening tomorrow night. The woman at the window isn't looking out, I realize now. She's looking in. Personal journal, Elise Vega, September 19th. My tablet is trying to tell me something. I must have fallen asleep despite my determination to stay awake. When I opened my eyes this morning, the first thing I saw was my tablet screen, pulsing with notifications. Dozens of them, all identical. File altered. File altered. File altered. But this time, there was something different. a file path visible in the preview. /users/Elise Vega/documents, medical, treatment, session_17.mov. I've never created such a folder. I don't have medical files on my tablet. I don't record my doctor's appointments. And yet, when I opened my file system, there it was, a folder structure I don't remember creating, containing videos I don't remember recording. My hands shook as I tapped on session_17.mov. The video showed a sterile room with white walls and no windows. A woman sat in a chair facing the camera, her face blank, eyes unfocused. It took me several seconds to recognize her. It was me. A voice spoke from off-camera. Female. Clinical. Subject demonstrates continued receptivity to visual implantation. Cognitive integration at 73%. Some rejection of urban landscape composites, but acceptance of primary observer presence. My image on screen didn't react. Didn't blink. Just stared. Increasing dosage for next session, the voice continued. Note potential compatibility with subjects from floors 14 and 16. Prepare for phase 2 integration. The video ended abruptly. I immediately tried to play it again, but the file was gone. The entire folder structure had vanished, leaving only the notifications, file altered. I threw the tablet across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen cracked, but still glowing with those insistent alerts. This isn't happening, I said aloud, my voice echoing in the loft. This isn't real. But the cracked tablet was real. The paintings were real. The flyer for an exhibition I didn't plan was real. The business card for Dr. Chen was real. I needed to ground myself in something tangible, something I could trust. I retrieved my old film camera from its case, a vintage Leica my father gave me years ago. Digital files can be altered, but film creates a physical record. I loaded a fresh roll and began photographing everything. The paintings, the tablet with its cracked screen, the flyer, the card, the empty spaces on my walls. As I worked, I noticed something peculiar about the light in my loft. It seemed to shift unnaturally, casting shadows that moved independently of their sources. I photographed this too, capturing the strange angles and impossible geometries. The doorbell rang at precisely noon. Through the peephole, I saw Damien standing in the hallway, checking his watch impatiently. I hesitated before opening the door. Finally, he said, brushing past me into the loft. I've been trying to reach you all morning. Why aren't you answering your phone? I hadn't heard my phone ring. When I checked it, there were no missed calls. Damien stopped abruptly when he saw the paintings. These are them? The window series. He approached the canvases slowly, as if drawn by an invisible force. Elise, these are remarkable. The depth, the tension, the psychological weight of them. He turned to me, eyes bright with excitement. This is exactly what we need for tonight. Tonight? The exhibition. Your exhibition. He frowned at my confusion. The one we've been planning for months? The one opening in 7 hours. I showed him the flyer I'd found under my door. I didn't plan this exhibition, Damien. I was working on abstract cityscapes, not whatever these are. He laughed, but it sounded hollow, rehearsed. You really commit to your process, don't you? The whole artist in a fugue state thing. It's great for publicity, honestly. He circled the paintings again. These are going to cause quite a stir. The critics are already buzzing about your radical new direction. How could they be? No one has seen these. Damien's expression flickered, something between irritation and concern. Of course they have. We did a preview for select critics last week. You were there. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through it, and showed me a photo. There I was, standing beside one of the window paintings. Smiling. Wearing a dress I don't own. That's not possible, I whispered. Look, I know artists can be temperamental, but this is extreme even for you. Damien pocketed his phone. The transport team will be here at 4 to collect the pieces. Be ready. He headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Dr. Chen called the gallery this morning. She said your treatment is progressing well, whatever that means. Is that some kind of artist retreat thing? After he left, I sat on the floor surrounded by my film camera, the cracked tablet, and the paintings I supposedly created. None of it made sense. How could there be photos of me at an event I never attended? How could critics have seen work I don't remember making? Who was Dr. Chun, and what treatment was I supposedly undergoing? I decided to develop the film immediately. There's a darkroom in the building's basement that residents can use. I gathered my supplies and headed down, desperate for some physical evidence I could trust. The elevator felt wrong as it descended. The air pressure shifted uncomfortably, and the lights flickered in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. When the doors opened on the basement level, I hesitated before stepping out. The corridor was dimly lit, the darkroom door at the far end. As I walked, a strange sound became audible, a rhythmic beeping like medical equipment. It seemed to come from behind a door marked "Maintenance, authorized personnel only." I pressed my ear against it and heard voices. "The integration is accelerating across all subjects." "What about the artist? Floor 15. Her neural architecture is uniquely receptive. The memory tampering is taking hold, but there's still resistance. Increase the dosage through the water supply tonight. Already scheduled, 2 to 4 a.m. I stumbled back from the door, heart racing. This confirmed the alert about water service interruption. Something was being added to the water on specific floors, including mine. I was about to flee when a hand clamped down on my shoulder. "Ms. Vega," said Detective Reed, his grip painfully tight. "Interesting finding you down here. Residents reported unusual activity in the basement." "I was just going to develop some film," I stammered, holding up my camera. His eyes narrowed. "Is that so? And what exactly are you photographing?" "My work. My apartment. Things I need to remember." Something shifted in his expression, a calculating look. "Memory problems, Ms. Vega? Perhaps you should consult a specialist. I know an excellent neurologist." "Dr. Chin?" I asked before I could stop myself. Reed's grip tightened further. "How do you know that name?" Before I could answer, my phone vibrated with an emergency alert. Citywide notice. Cognitive contaminant detected in water supply in downtown sector. Residents advised to avoid tap water until further notice. Reed's phone buzzed simultaneously. He glanced at it, momentarily distracted, and I seized the opportunity to wrench free from his grip and run toward the elevator. I slammed my hand against the button repeatedly, glancing back to see Reed speaking urgently into a radio. The doors opened, and I threw myself inside, jabbing at the close button. The last thing I saw before the doors shut was Reed's face, his expression no longer that of a concerned detective, but something cold and clinical. As the elevator rose, another alert lit up my phone. File altered. I'm back in my loft now, barricaded inside. I've placed bottles of water I purchased days ago in a secure location. I've hidden my camera and this journal. The transport team will arrive soon for paintings I don't remember creating, for an exhibition I didn't plan. I don't know who to trust anymore. Not Damien, not Detective Reed, not even my own memories. The woman in the paintings is warning me, I realize now. She's not the observed. She's the observer. Personal journal, Elise Vega, September 20th. I've seen the face in the window. Last night's exhibition is a blur of fragmented images and disjointed conversations. I remember arriving at the gallery, Damien insisted despite my protests, and seeing my name emblazoned on the entrance in elegant typography. Elise Vega, Reflections on Memory. A title I never chose. Inside, the white walls were hung with dozens of paintings, all variations of the window scene. The woman, the cityscape, the watchers in the shadows. Except in some of the pieces, the woman had begun to turn. In one, the curve of her cheek was visible. In another, a single eye. In a third, half her profile caught in the reflection of the glass. Stunning work, a critic told me, champagne flute in hand. Your most honest series yet. The fragmentation of identity in the digital age, rendered with such vulnerability. I nodded and smiled, playing along. What else could I do? Stand in the middle of my own exhibition and scream that I'd never seen these paintings before? That something was altering my memory, my work, my reality? The crowd blurred around me, faces shifting in and out of focus. At some point, Damien guided me to the centerpiece of the exhibition, a large canvas I hadn't seen before, displayed on a wall by itself. In this painting, the woman had turned completely, her face fully visible, staring not at the window but directly at the viewer. At me. It was my face, but not quite. The eyes were wrong, too knowing, too ancient. The expression was one I've never worn, a mixture of warning and resignation. And behind her, behind me, the cityscape had changed. No longer a composite of different urban centers, but something alien, impossible. Buildings that defied physics, streets that folded back on themselves, skies that contained too many moons. Your masterpiece, Damien whispered, his hand on my lower back guiding me closer. Everyone's talking about it. Dr. Chin said it represents a breakthrough. I turned sharply. Dr. Chin is here? She was earlier. Had to leave for an emergency at her clinic. She seemed very pleased with your progress. progress, treatment, breakthrough. The words echoed in my mind as I stared at this face that was both mine and not mine, this city that could not exist. I don't remember leaving the exhibition. I don't remember how I got home. I woke on my couch this morning, still in my exhibition clothes, with a business card clutched in my hand. Not Dr. Chen's this time, but Detective Reed's. On the back, handwritten, "We need to talk. What you saw in the basement was real. Meet me at Blackwood Park, noon. Come alone." I didn't want to go. I didn't trust Reed, not after our encounter in the basement. But I needed answers, and he seemed to know something about what was happening in the building, about Dr. Chun, about the treatment. Blackwood Park is a small urban green space 6 blocks from my building. As I approached the designated meeting spot, a bench near the eastern entrance, my phone buzzed with another emergency alert. Security notice. Report suspicious individuals claiming law enforcement status. Verification protocols in effect due to recent impersonation incidents. A chill ran through me. Was Reed even a real detective? I almost turned back, but then I saw him on the bench, dressed in civilian clothes rather than the suit he'd worn before. He looked tired, haunted even. "Ms. Vega," he said as I approached cautiously. "Thank you for coming. Are you really a detective?" I asked, keeping my distance. He sighed. "Yes and no. I am with law enforcement, but not in the capacity I presented to you. I'm with a specialized division investigating neurological experiments in your building." "The missing residents? The water supply?" "Yes." He glanced around nervously. "We believe a government-sanctioned program has been testing memory manipulation techniques on selected residents. Artists specifically. Why artists? Creative minds are more malleable, more receptive to implanted imagery. And your work provides a perfect cover. Any strange behavior or perceptual anomalies can be attributed to artistic eccentricity." My mouth went dry. "The paintings, the ones I don't remember creating." Reed nodded. "They're not yours, not entirely. They're a blend of your technique with implanted imagery, scenes designed to test how well you integrate foreign visual concepts into your own creative output." "But why? What's the purpose?" "Information storage," he said grimly. "Think about it. Paintings don't trigger security protocols. They cross borders without scrutiny. They hang in public spaces without suspicion. If you could encode classified data within imagery that only certain viewers could decode." "That's insane," I whispered, though some part of me recognized the terrible logic of it. "The woman in your paintings, the one who looks like you but not quite, she's what they call the observer construct. A mental guardian created to protect the implanted memories, to keep you from rejecting them." He leaned forward. "But something's gone wrong. Your observer is warning you instead of controlling you." My tablet chimed in my bag. "File altered." Reed's eyes widened. "They're monitoring us. We need to move." As we stood to leave, my phone lit up with multiple alerts, cascading one after another. Emergency broadcast, shelter-in-place order for downtown district. Public safety alert, unknown pathogen affecting cognitive function. Law enforcement bulletin, report individual Marcus Reed, wanted for impersonating federal officer. Reed cursed under his breath. "They're trying to isolate you, to discredit me. We don't have much time." We hurried through the park toward the street, but stopped short at the sight of a black SUV pulling up to the curb. Through the tinted window, I caught a glimpse of a familiar face, Damien, my art dealer, looking directly at us. "Run," Reed hissed, pulling me toward a different exit. We fled through side streets and alleyways, eventually ducking into a small cafe several blocks away. As we caught our breath, Reed took out his phone and showed me something that made my blood freeze. A missing person report with a photo. "This man disappeared from your building 3 weeks ago. Recognize him?" The face staring back from the screen was the same face I'd painted yesterday. A face I'd never seen before creating that painting. A face that emerged from my brushstrokes as if it had always been waiting there. "His name was Michael Juarez," Reed continued. "Floor 14. He was the first to disappear. Then Lisa Winslow from 16. Then Evan Chin from 12. Evan Chin, related to Dr. Naomi Chin? Her brother. He discovered what she was doing and threatened to expose her. The next day, he vanished." Reed put his phone away. "I believe the paintings you're creating contain encoded information about what happened to these people." "I need to see my paintings again," I said suddenly. "The ones at the gallery. There's something in them, something I'm trying to tell myself." Reed shook his head. "Too dangerous. The gallery will be watched. Then I'll create a new one. The certainty in my voice surprised even me. If I'm encoding information unconsciously, maybe I can do it consciously. Maybe I can access whatever memories they've tampered with. Back in my loft, I set up a fresh canvas while Reed secured the door and windows. My hands moved with unusual confidence, applying paint in swift, decisive strokes. I wasn't thinking about composition or color theory. I was reaching for something buried, something hidden beneath layers of altered memory. A face emerged on the canvas, not mine this time, but a man's. Michael Juarez, though I'd only seen his photo once. Behind him, a sterile room with strange equipment. And in the corner, that symbol again, the circle with 3 radiating lines. As I painted, my tablet and phone began chiming incessantly. File altered. File altered. File altered. Emergency alert. Mandatory evacuation order for your building. Police notice. Armed suspect reported in your vicinity. Reed looked over my shoulder at the emerging painting. That's it, he whispered. That's the lab where they're doing the procedures. Below your building. And that, he pointed to a detail I'd unconsciously included. That's a security keypad. You've painted the access code. The alerts on our devices grew more frantic, more specific. Building security. Unauthorized individual detected in Unit 1507. Medical emergency. Patient Elise Vega requires immediate intervention. They know, Reed said, moving toward the window to check the street. They know you're remembering. I continued painting, adding details I shouldn't know, couldn't know. A door marked Phase 2 integration. A wall of monitors showing residents' apartments. A surgical table with restraints. We need to leave, Reed insisted. But I couldn't stop. The painting was almost complete. Just one more element. In the foreground, barely visible among the shadows, I painted a small figure observing the scene. Damien, watching from behind glass, his expression cold and calculating. He's part of it, I said, the realization dawning as the paint dried. Damien. He's been monitoring me, reporting to Dr. Chen. Reed's reply was cut short by a pounding on my door. Ms. Vega? A voice called out, Mrs. Abernathy from down the hall. There's been an emergency alert. We need to evacuate immediately. But underneath her words, I heard something else, a subtle wrongness in her tone, a mechanical quality I'd never noticed before. Reed put his finger to his lips, then whispered, the back stairs. Now. As we moved toward my loft's rear exit, my tablet displayed one final alert. Memory integrity compromised. Initiating full reset. The observer in the window is fighting for control now. But so am I. Audio recording Elise Vega, September 21st, 9:13 a.m. I'm recording this on a burner phone Reed purchased. My tablet and regular phone are compromised, broadcasting my location, altering my files, manipulating my perception. I don't know who will hear this recording. I don't know if I'll even remember making it tomorrow. But I need to document what happened after we fled my loft. Reed and I escaped through the service stairs, avoiding the main lobby where security cameras would have tracked us. We spent the night in a motel on the outskirts of the city, paying cash, using false names. Reed seems practiced at disappearing. I wonder how many times he's done this before, how many other subjects he's helped escape. This morning, he brought me to a small office in a converted warehouse. The sign on the door read, Dr. Lydia Warren, cognitive neurologist. Inside, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and alert eyes waited for us. This is Dr. Warren, Reed explained. She used to work with Dr. Chen before the program went unethical. She can help us understand what they've done to you. Dr. Warren gestured for me to sit in an examination chair while she prepared some equipment. I'm going to run some basic neural imaging, she explained, attaching small sensors to my temples. Non-invasive, I promise. I just need to see what we're dealing with. As she worked, I asked the question that had been haunting me. Is any of this real? My memories, my paintings, are they mine at all? She paused, considering her words carefully. Memory isn't a recording, Ms. Vega. It's a reconstruction. Every time we recall something, we essentially rebuild it from fragments, making it vulnerable to suggestion and alteration. What Dr. Chen's team has developed is a way to insert foreign elements into that reconstruction process. The cityscape in my paintings, I murmured. The composite city that doesn't exist. Exactly. They're using your artistic ability to process and integrate visual data that wouldn't normally be compatible with human memory. She turned to her computer screen, examining whatever data the sensors were collecting. The problem for them, and the opportunity for us, is that your mind is fighting back. The The woman in the window, I said. Reed called her an observer construct. Dr. Warren nodded. A psychological mechanism they implant to monitor the integration process. But yours appears to have developed autonomy. She's warning you rather than controlling you. That's extremely unusual. The computer beeped, and Dr. Warren's expression darkened. Oh my God, what is it? Reed asked, moving closer to the screen. It's not just visual data they're implanting, she said, her voice tight with anger. There are entire memory structures being inserted and removed. Look at these patterns. There are gaps, artificial constructs, temporal displacements. It's comprehensive. How comprehensive? I asked, fear clenching my stomach. She turned to me, her expression grave. Ms. Vega, I need to ask you something, and I need you to think very carefully before answering. What's your earliest memory of becoming a painter? I opened my mouth to respond, then hesitated. There should be a clear answer. Art school, or perhaps childhood drawings encouraged by parents. But when I reached for those memories, I found only hazy impressions, like scenes from a movie I'd watched long ago, rather than experiences I'd lived. I don't know, I admitted, panic rising in my throat. What about your art dealer, Damien? When did you first meet him? Again, no clear memory emerged, just a sense that he had always been there, handling my career. And your loft? When did you move in? 3 years ago, I said automatically, then frowned. No, that's not right. It was. Dr. Warren exchanged a look with Reed. I'm sorry, but I think your entire identity as Elise Vega, professional painter, may be an implanted construction. A cover identity. The room seemed to tilt around me. That's not possible. I have galleries, exhibitions. People know me. Yes, and that's part of what makes this so sophisticated, she said. They've created external validation for your implanted identity. The gallery, the critics, the exhibitions, they're all part of the cover. But my paintings are a mechanism for encoding and transporting classified information, Reed interjected. You process visual data they implant, transform it through your artistic filter, and produce paintings that contain hidden patterns only certain viewers can decode. Who am I then? My voice sounded distant, hollow. If not Elise Vega, who am I? Before Dr. Warren could answer, all three of our phones chimed simultaneously with an emergency alert. Contamination warning. Cognitive contaminants detected in building water supplies throughout downtown. Affects memory and perception. Seek medical attention if you experience disorientation or false memories. Reed cursed. They're covering their tracks, creating a public health crisis to explain away any reports of memory tampering. Dr. Warren's computer screen suddenly flickered, then displayed a video feed, security camera footage from the lobby of her building. A group of people in dark suits had entered, led by a familiar figure, Damien. They've found us, Reed said, moving quickly to gather our things. We need to go. Now. As we hurried to the back exit, my phone displayed another alert. Patient notification. Dr. Naomi Chen requests your immediate return for treatment continuation. Critical phase interrupted. Outside, we climbed into Reed's car and sped away just as Damien and his team entered the building. We drove in tense silence until we reached an underground parking garage several miles away. What now? I asked. We need to see what's in your paintings, Reed said. The real content, not just what's visible to the naked eye. The gallery will be watched, I reminded him. Not the gallery. Your dealer keeps digital backups of all your work, doesn't he? For insurance purposes, for the catalog? I nodded slowly. In his office. But it'll be secured. I can get us in, Reed assured me. Tonight, after hours. As we formulated our plan, Dr. Warren examined the data she'd downloaded from her equipment. There's something else you should know, she said gravely. The memory tampering isn't just extensive, it's ongoing. There are active neural implants still functioning in your brain. Implants? The word sent a wave of nausea through me. Physical devices? She nodded. Microscopic, likely introduced through the water supply in your building, as those alerts suggested. They're designed to maintain the implanted memories and facilitate new ones. Can you remove them? Not without specialized equipment, but I might be able to temporarily disrupt them. She reached into her bag and removed a small device that looked like a hearing aid. This emits a specific electromagnetic frequency that should interfere with their transmission. It won't stop them completely, but it might give you windows of clarity. I placed the device behind my ear, and almost immediately, a strange sensation washed over me, as if a veil had been lifted. Memories began to surface, fragmented but vivid. A different apartment than my loft. A different profession. A different name. Sarah, I whispered. My name is Sarah Lynn. Reed's eyes widened. Sarah Lynn? The NSA cryptographic analyst who disappeared 6 months ago. The name resonated, triggering more fragments, security clearances, code systems, classified briefings. But as quickly as they surfaced, they began to fade, slipping away like water through my fingers. It's not holding, Dr. Warren said, checking the device. The implants are adapting, compensating for the interference. As my brief moment of clarity receded, one final emergency alert appeared on all our phones. Building-wide notification. Memory audit protocol initiated for all residents of the Archer building, floors 12 to 16. Compliance mandatory. Resistance will trigger full cognitive reset. Dr. Warren looked grim. They're going to wipe you completely if they find you. Whatever is encoded in your paintings must be incredibly valuable or incredibly dangerous. Then we need to see what it is, I said, clinging to the fading fragments of my true identity. Tonight, as we left the parking garage, the city around me seemed to shift and waver, buildings rearranging themselves like the impossible cityscape in my paintings. Reality itself felt tenuous, negotiable. Who am I watching through these eyes? Elise the painter or Sarah the analyst? And which one will survive the night? Journal entry, Elise Vega, September 21st, 10:42 p.m. The device Dr. Warren gave me is failing. My thoughts blur between Elise and Sarah, between painter and analyst, between created memories and whatever scraps of truth remain. I'm writing everything down while I can still remember it, while I can still differentiate what's happening now from what they've planted in my head. Reed and I returned to my building after dark. Not through the main entrance, too many cameras, too many eyes that might recognize me, but through the service entrance in the alley. He had an electronic pass key that worked on most standard security systems. When I asked where he got it, he just said, "You learn things when you investigate people who disappear." My loft is on the 14th floor. Below me, Unit 1310 has been vacant for months, or so I thought. The leasing sign has hung in the window since spring. Its phone number never answered when curious neighbors called. As we climbed the stairs to the 13th floor, emergency alerts blared suddenly through the building's PA system. Attention residents, routine maintenance of cognitive health monitors will occur between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. Please disregard any unusual sensory experiences during this time. Reed grimaced. They know we're here. That's their way of telling the other agents in the building to be on alert. He checked his watch. We have maybe 20 minutes before they pinpoint our location. The door to 1310 had a high-end security system, much more sophisticated than a vacant apartment should need. Reed pulled out a small device and attached it to the keypad. "This will take a few minutes," he whispered. "Keep watch." While he worked, I studied the hallway. Something about it seemed familiar in a way that went beyond simply living in the same building. The carpet pattern, the light fixtures, the spacing of the doors, they mirrored the layout of my own floor precisely, but with subtle differences. The colors were muted, clinical. The air smelled of chemicals rather than the usual cooking and living odors of an apartment building. "Got it," Reed murmured as the lock clicked open. We slipped inside, closing the door silently behind us. What we found wasn't an apartment at all. The space was the exact dimensions of my loft upstairs, but configured as a laboratory and art studio hybrid. One half contained medical equipment, an examination chair with restraints, monitoring devices, cabinets filled with vials and instruments. The other half was a mirror image of my own studio space, with easels, canvases, and paints arranged precisely as I kept them above. "Jesus," Reed breathed, taking it all in. "This is where they've been working on you." I approached the art supplies, running my fingers over brushes identical to my own. On the easels stood paintings in various stages of completion, all in my style, all appearing to be part of the same cityscape series I'd been working on upstairs. "Look at this," I called to Reed, pointing to a small workstation next to the easel. A tablet sat there, displaying a schematic of a brain with certain areas highlighted in red. Next to it lay a folder labeled Subject EV7, Memory Integration Protocols. Reed snapped photos with his phone while I flipped through the folder. Inside were detailed records of memory adjustment sessions, each corresponding to dates when I'd experienced particularly severe blackouts. Attached to each report were before and after images of paintings, the before versions showing landscapes and buildings that looked like surveillance photographs, the after versions showing my artistic interpretations of the same scenes. They're using you as a filter, Reed said, reading over my shoulder. Taking classified visual intelligence and running it through your artistic process to encode it. But why? What's so special about how I paint? Before Reed could answer, I noticed a refrigerated cabinet in the corner. Something compelled me to open it, though I wasn't sure why. Inside were dozens of labeled vials. One caught my eye immediately. EV7 cerebrospinal fluid, harvest date September 5th. 2 weeks ago. The day I woke up with a splitting headache and a band-aid on the back of my neck that I couldn't explain. They've been extracting fluid from your central nervous system, Reed said, his voice tight with controlled rage. Probably to analyze how your brain is processing the implanted memories. My fingers trembled as I replaced the vial. Next to the cabinet stood a metal filing cabinet. I yanked open the top drawer and found it filled with personnel files. Most of the names meant nothing to me, but 3 files immediately caught my attention. Dr. Naomi Chun, Damian Foster, and D.T. Marcus Reed. I pulled out Reed's file and flipped it open. Inside was a personnel summary. Reed Marcus J., Cover Operative, Asset Management Division. Assigned to monitoring subject EV7. Instructed to portray law enforcement officer investigating missing persons. Warning, showing signs of asset attachment. Recommended for reassignment and memory adjustment. I turned to Reed, who had gone very still. You're one of them. His eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw conflict there. I was, until I saw what they were doing to you, to the others. Others? He nodded grimly. You're not the only artist they're using. There's a whole program, Project Nemo Sinist, they call it, using artists to transform classified intelligence into seemingly innocent paintings. And Damien? My art dealer? Handler. His gallery is a front for distributing the encoded information to operatives who know how to read the patterns in the paintings. My head spun. I stumbled back against the wall, feeling the cold metal of the filing cabinet against my skin. So nothing is real. My entire career is constructed, yes, but your talent isn't. They chose you because you already had exceptional artistic abilities. As Sarah Lynn? The name still felt strange on my tongue, both foreign and intimately familiar. Yes. Sarah Lynn is a gifted amateur painter who also happened to be one of the NSA's top cryptographic analysts. The perfect combination for what they needed. A sound from the hallway silenced us both. Footsteps, moving slowly but deliberately toward the apartment door. Reed put a finger to his lips and motioned me toward a door at the back of the studio space, likely a bathroom or closet where we could hide. As we moved, my tablet chimed with another alert. Cognitive recalibration notice. Subject EV7 scheduled for emergency reset procedure due to pattern collapse. All monitoring agents maintain distance until retrieval team arrives. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Reed and I froze halfway across the room. Check for back exits, he whispered. I nodded, creeping toward the rear door while Reed positioned himself behind the examination chair, gun drawn. The handle of the main door began to turn slowly. The back door led to what appeared to be a small storage room. But as I entered, I realized it wasn't storage at all. It was a viewing room. One wall was made entirely of one-way glass, looking into an adjacent apartment. With a jolt of recognition, I realized I was looking into Unit 1312, the home of Mrs. Abernathy, my elderly neighbor who I'd always found oddly interested in my artwork. But what chilled me more was the bank of monitors on the adjacent wall, each showing different views of my own loft upstairs. My living room, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and most prominently my studio. They had been watching me constantly. A notebook lay open on the desk beneath the monitors. The latest entry read, Subject shows increasing pattern resistance. Memory implants destabilizing despite increased neural stimulant dosage. Recommend immediate reset and reimplantation of baseline identity with additional control mechanisms. Subject's awareness of observer construct, window woman, indicates critical failure of suggestion protocols. The door to the main room crashed open. I heard shouts, then Reed's voice. Elise, run. A gunshot echoed through the apartment. Then another. I had seconds to decide. Through another door in the viewing room was a service elevator, probably how they brought equipment in and out unnoticed. I could escape, try to find Dr. Warren again, maybe recover more of my true memories. Or I could try to help Reed. My hand hovered over the elevator button as more shots rang out. But something caught my eye on one of the monitors, footage from my own studio upstairs, but not current. It was time-stamped from 3 days ago, showing me painting at my easel while Damien watched from the doorway with Dr. Chin beside him. I turned up the volume on the monitor. "She's integrating the Stockholm surveillance beautifully," Damien was saying. "The encoding is perfect, completely invisible to the naked eye, but our analysts can extract every detail." "And the memory integration?" Dr. Chin asked, holding but fragile. "She's been asking questions about gaps in her exhibition history. We'll adjust her again tonight. Increase the dosage in her water filtration system." I felt sick. Every glass of water I'd drunk in my own home had been drugging me, making me compliant to their memory manipulations. More gunfire from the next room jolted me back to the present. I had to make a choice. Even as I hesitated, my tablet displayed a final alert. "Building security notice. Memory audit protocol initiated for floor 13. All personnel clear testing areas." Whatever a memory audit was, it couldn't be good. I took one last look at the monitors showing my violated life, then made my decision. The service elevator would take me to the basement. From there, I could access the building's water system, perhaps find evidence of how they were drugging not just me, but potentially everyone in the building. As the elevator doors closed, I heard one final gunshot, louder than the others. I closed my eyes, offering a silent apology to Reed, whether he was truly trying to help me or just playing another role in their elaborate deception. The elevator descended into darkness, taking me deeper into the conspiracy that had consumed my life. Or lives. I no longer knew which memories to trust, which identity was real. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Somewhere in my paintings was a truth so dangerous that people were willing to kill for it, and erase my entire existence to protect it. Voice memo, Elise Vega/Sarah Lynn, September 22nd, 3:17 a.m. I'm hiding in the maintenance tunnels beneath the building. The service elevator took me to the basement, but I couldn't stay there. They were searching for me, their voices echoing down concrete corridors. I found these service tunnels behind a rusted door marked City Access. They seemed to connect multiple buildings in this block. My tablet died an hour ago. Probably for the best, they were likely tracking it. I'm using my backup phone to record this, the one Reed gave me. I don't know if he's alive. The gunfire stopped shortly after I escaped, and I've heard nothing since but the distant sounds of boots on concrete and garbled radio communications. I need to document what I've discovered while my mind is still clear. The water purification system for the building is accessed through the basement. I found it, a complex setup with additional components that don't belong in standard filtration. Small dispensers connected to each apartment's water line, releasing measured doses of clear liquid. The main tank was labeled Cognitive Enhancement Compound MC7. Government classification markings covered every component. I've been drugged for months, maybe years. We all have, everyone in the building. But my system received special attention. A separate control box with my apartment number was equipped with remote adjustment capabilities. They could increase my dosage from anywhere. I managed to disconnect my apartment's feed line before I heard them coming. Too late for me, but at least no more drugs will flow into my system. Maybe I'll start to remember who I really am. I found something else in these tunnels. The building next to mine isn't an office complex as I'd thought. It's another residential building, identical in layout to mine. Its basement connects to these same tunnels. I followed the water lines and found another filtration system, another set of dosing mechanisms. More artists, more subjects. It's not just me. The realization came as I examined a clipboard hanging by the filtration system. Floor plans, apartment numbers, and names. Artists, all of them, working in different media. Painters, sculptors, photographers, digital artists. Next to each name, a code designation like mine, EV7MP4JT11. And beside the list, a familiar name, Damien Foster, listed as handler intake processing. My dealer, my friend, or so I thought, manages an entire stable of artist subjects. And the galleries I've shown in, the critics who've praised my work, the collectors who've purchased my paintings, are they all part of the program too? An elaborate network designed to distribute encoded intelligence hidden in artwork? I've emerged in the basement of the neighboring building. It's quieter here, no signs of security teams searching. I found a janitor's closet where I can rest and try to make sense of everything. The building directory in the lobby level confirms my suspicions. Every resident is an artist. Julian Torres, 5B, the photographer whose stark urban landscapes I've admired. Mira Patel, 10C, whose abstract sculptures have won international acclaim. All of them probably living the same half-existence I am, their memories manipulated, their art co-opted. And the connection suddenly becomes clear. Damien represents all of us. His gallery shows all our work. He's been at the center of this operation all along. I need to get to his gallery. If my paintings contain encoded intelligence, his office likely contains the key to decoding it. Reed mentioned the real content, not just what's visible to the naked eye. There must be a way to see what's hidden there. The streets are eerily empty at this hour. I've made it 6 blocks from the building, keeping to shadows, avoiding the main roads where cameras might spot me. My head throbs. I don't know if it's withdrawal from whatever drugs they've been giving me, or the strain of contradictory memories fighting for space in my mind. I keep seeing flashes of another life, security briefings, code systems, a small apartment filled with books on cryptography. Sarah Lynn's life. My life. It feels both intimately familiar and completely foreign, like a movie I've watched so many times I can recite the lines but can't remember being in the theater. At the same time, Elise's memories remain vivid. Art school, exhibitions, the smell of oil paints and turpentine. Are these entirely fabricated, or did they build my cover identity on fragments of truth? Was Sarah Lynn really an amateur painter before they transformed her into Elise Vega, professional artist? I duck into an all-night diner, order coffee I can barely afford with the little cash I have. The television in the corner is showing a local news broadcast, a story about a public health alert regarding contaminated water in several downtown apartment buildings, warning of temporary cognitive side effects. The cover story is already in place. Anyone who experienced memory glitches or saw things they shouldn't will attribute it to contaminated water. Clever. Clean. And then I see it, a report about a shooting in my building. Police responded to an apparent home invasion in the Archer building downtown. One suspect was shot and killed by security personnel. The identity of the deceased has not been released. Reed. It has to be. He's dead because he tried to help me. Or was he really trying to help? His file indicated he was one of them, but supposedly having second thoughts. What if that was just another layer of manipulation? What if his role as a detective was just the outer shell, and his role as a rogue agent, helping me, was yet another deception designed to lead me into a trap? I can't trust anyone, not even myself. I've reached the gallery district. Damien's space, Foster Contemporary, occupies a converted warehouse, all gleaming white walls and polished concrete floors. During the day, it's bustling with collectors and critics. Now at 4:30 a.m., it's dark and silent, except for a single light burning in the back office. I approach cautiously, staying in the shadows across the street. Through the windows, I can see someone moving inside. Not Damien, a woman. Dr. Chen. She's removing paintings from the walls, my paintings, and placing them in padded transport cases. They're cleaning out the evidence. As I watch, a black SUV pulls up, and men in dark suits begin loading the cases. Another vehicle arrives, an ambulance, but unmarked. From it, medical personnel will out a gurney with someone strapped to it, face covered. They take it through the gallery's side entrance. My stomach drops. Something about the figure's build, the profile beneath the sheet. It looks like Damien. My phone buzzes, an emergency alert. Citywide notice. Multiple individuals suffering from water contamination delusions have been hospitalized. Symptoms include false memories, paranoia, and conspiracy theories. If you encounter anyone exhibiting these symptoms, contact emergency services immediately. As I read the message, Dr. Chen emerges from the gallery and scans the street, her eyes passing over my hiding place without stopping. She speaks into a phone, her posture rigid, authoritative. I need to get inside that gallery before they remove everything. My art, Sarah's filtered intelligence, might be my only leverage, my only proof of what they've done. A delivery van turns the corner, momentarily blocking Dr. Chen's view of my position. It's now or never. I dart across the street toward the service alley that runs behind the gallery. There's a loading dock I've used before when delivering larger canvases. If the security code hasn't changed, I can get in that way. As I round the corner into the alley, I collide with someone coming the other direction. I stagger back, ready to run, but freeze when I see who it is. Julian Torres, the photographer from the neighboring building. His eyes are wild, his clothes disheveled. He grabs my arms, recognition flashing across his face. "Elise," he whispers, "you're awake too?" Before I can answer, a sharp pain explodes in my shoulder. I look down to see a tranquilizer dart protruding from my jacket. I spin around to see Dr. Chun at the mouth of the alley, a dart gun in her hand. "Both of you," she says calmly. "How convenient." My vision begins to blur. Julian catches me as my knees buckle. "Run." I try to tell him, but my tongue feels swollen, unresponsive. The last thing I see before darkness claims me is Julian's face, contorting in pain as a dart hits him too. We collapse together, two artists whose work contains secrets we were never meant to know. Dr. Chen's voice drifts to me through encroaching blackness. "Prep them both for full reset. We're moving to contingency facility 3. Then nothing. Audio transcript, session number 47, subject EV7, September 23rd, time unknown. Dr. Chun, recording session 47 with subject EV7, post-recovery. How are you feeling today, Elise? Elise, where am I? This isn't the gallery. This isn't. Where's Julian? Dr. Chun, Julian Torres is receiving treatment for the same water contamination that affected you. You're in a specialized treatment facility. You were found wandering near Foster Contemporary, suffering from severe delusions. Do you remember any of that? Elise, delusions? You shot me with a tranquilizer dart. You and Damien, you've been tampering with my memories, using my paintings to encode classified intelligence. Dr. Chun sighs. These conspiracy theories are common with this particular contamination. The compound affects the brain's ability to distinguish between imagination and reality. You're a painter, Elise. Your imagination is particularly vivid. The contamination has caused you to weave an elaborate fantasy. Elise, stop lying. I found the lab beneath my apartment. I saw the files. I know about Project Mnemosyntist. Dr. Chin, pause. I see the delusions are still quite entrenched. Perhaps we should try a different approach. Calls out, "Could you come in, please?" Damien. Door opens. "Hey, Elise. Glad to see you're awake." "Elise, Damien? But I saw them taking your body out of the gallery." Damien laughs gently. "See what I mean, doctor?" Her mind is creating these elaborate scenarios. "Elise, I've been here the whole time, worried sick about you. Everyone has. Your parents called again this morning." "Elise, my parents? I never talk about my parents." Damien, of course you do. They came to your last opening, remember? Your dad wore that ridiculous bow tie you got him for Christmas? Static interference in recording. Elise, I remember that bow tie. Blue with little paintbrushes on it. But that can't be real. Sarah Lynn's parents died years ago in a car accident. Dr. Chin, who is Sarah Lynn, Elise? Elise, I am. Or I was. Before you turn me into Elise Vega. Dr. Chin, to Damien, the contamination has created an entirely fictional identity in her mind. To Elise, there is no Sarah Lynn, Elise. There is no secret government program. You're experiencing a form of dissociative disorder triggered by the contaminated water in your building. Elise, then why am I restrained to this chair? Dr. Chin, for your own protection. Several patients have harmed themselves during episodes of paranoia. We can remove the restraints if you feel calmer. Elise, where's Detective Reed? Damien, exchanging glances with Dr. Chin. Who? Elise, Marcus Reed, the detective investigating disappearances. He helped me escape. He was shot in the lab under my apartment. Dr. Chun, Elise, there is no detective named Marcus Reed involved in your case. And there is no lab under your apartment. Just a vacant unit that's been empty for months. Building-wide alert sounds. Automated voice. Attention all personnel. Memory reconstruction protocol initialized in Sector 7. All non-essential staff clear the area. Dr. Chun, irritated dam maintenance tests. Always running drills during treatment hours. Elise, try to focus. I'm going to show you some images, and I want you to tell me if they seem familiar. Sounds of pages turning. Dr. Chin, do you recognize this painting? Elise, that's mine. Convergence point number 3. From my Cityscape series. Dr. Chin, good. And this one? Elise, also mine. Convergence point number 9. The final piece in the series. It shows the central square, where all the architectural elements come together. Dr. Chin, excellent. Now one more. Do you recognize this? Elise, hesitation, no. That's not mine. The style is similar, but I didn't paint that. The brushwork is wrong. The perspective is too mathematical. Dr. Chin, to Damien, interesting. She can still distinguish between her genuine work and the test samples. Damien, should we proceed with the full reconstruction then? Dr. Chin, yes. I think we have no choice. The contamination has compromised too many memory structures. To Elise, Elise, we're going to help you recover your real memories. It may feel strange at first, but I promise it will help clear this confusion. Elise, you're going to wipe me again. Reset me. Turn me back into your perfect little art-producing spy. Dr. Chen, that's the delusion talking. We're going to administer a mild sedative now. Sounds of medical equipment being prepared. Elise, wait. Just tell me one thing. The paintings, what's in them? What am I encoding without knowing it? Dr. Chen sighs. If engaging with the delusion will help you relax. Your paintings aren't encoding anything, Elise. They're just paintings. Beautiful, valuable artwork that speaks to the fragmentation of urban spaces in the modern world. That's all. Injection sounds. Elise, drowsy, you're lying. The cityscape isn't real. It's a composite, surveillance data. Dr. Chen, rest now, Elise. When you wake up, things will be clearer. End of transcript. Journal entry, Elise Vega, September 24th morning. I'm back in my loft, surrounded by familiar things. My easel, my paints, my half-finished canvases. Dr. Chen says I've been here the whole time, that my adventure was nothing but a vivid hallucination caused by contaminated water. A citywide problem affecting dozens of people, apparently. It was all over the news yesterday. Damien brought me home from the hospital this morning. He's been so kind, so concerned. He showed me the exhibition catalog for my upcoming show. All the paintings I remember creating, beautifully photographed and annotated with critical essays about my unique perspective on urban fragmentation. Everything seems normal. Everything feels right, except for three things. First, the woman in the window of the building across from mine, my observer construct, according to the hallucination, is still there watching. When Damien was here, she disappeared. The moment he left, she returned, and now she's holding up a piece of paper with something written on it that I can't quite make out. Second, my tablet keeps displaying a strange alert every few hours. File recovery in progress. 23% complete. I don't remember initiating any file recovery. Third, and most disturbing, when I went to take a shower this morning, I found a small bandage on the back of my neck, just at the hairline. When I removed it, there was a tiny puncture wound, perfectly circular, partially healed. Dr. Chen said my hallucinations were elaborate and consistent. That my mind had created a complex conspiracy theory to explain the cognitive effects of the contamination. That my identity as Sarah Lynn was a manifestation of my fear of being an imposter in the art world. It all makes logical sense. It's a rational explanation for an irrational experience. So why can't I shake the feeling that something is still wrong? I tried calling Julian Torres, the photographer from the neighboring building who appeared in my hallucination. His number is disconnected. When I asked Damien about him, he looked momentarily confused before saying, "Oh, Torres? He moved to Berlin last month for a residency. Didn't I tell you?" Maybe he did tell me. Maybe I forgot. Maybe the contamination affected my memory more than they're letting on. Or maybe, no, I'm not going down that road again. Dr. Chen warned me that the delusions might try to reassert themselves, that recovery isn't always linear. I need to focus on getting better, on preparing for my exhibition. Still, I find myself examining my paintings with new eyes. The composite cityscape that forms the heart of my series, buildings from different cities seamlessly blended into an impossible urban landscape. I always thought it was my subconscious creating an idealized city. Now I'm not so sure. I catch myself looking for patterns, hidden data, encoded information. The exact thing Dr. Chen said was part of my delusion. My phone chimes with a news alert. Downtown water contamination update. City officials confirm all affected systems have been flushed and decontaminated. Residents who experienced cognitive symptoms should continue to follow up with medical professionals. As I read this, my tablet displays another message. File recovery in progress. 24% complete. And across the way, the woman in the window holds up her sign again. This time, I can almost make out what it says. Remember. My head begins to throb. Memories flash through my mind. The lab beneath my apartment, Reed's gunshot wound, Julian's face as he collapsed beside me in the alley. But alongside them, other memories surface. My parents at my gallery opening, Damien's loyal support through years of building my career, my art school graduation. Which are real? Which are implanted? I walk to my easel, where a blank canvas waits. My hands move automatically, mixing colors, selecting brushes. I don't know what I'm about to paint, but something drives me forward, something beyond conscious thought. As the first brushstrokes form on the canvas, my tablet chimes again. File recovery in progress. 25% complete. And I realize with sudden clarity, it's not my tablet recovering files. It's my mind. Fragmented notes, Elise Vega/Sarah Lynn, September 25th, various times. Written on canvas with charcoal, photographed with phone. Something is happening to my mind. The recovery process they mentioned, it's accelerating. More fragments returning each hour. When I try to write them in my journal, the words vanish. When I type them on my tablet, the files corrupt. So I'm writing on canvas, photographing the words, then burning the canvas. They're watching my digital devices, but they haven't put cameras in my loft yet, at least none I can detect. File recovery, 41% complete. Scrawled on bathroom mirror with lipstick, photographed. Damien came by again with more medication from Dr. Chin. I pretended to take it, but hid the pills. When he left, I crushed one and examined it under my jeweler's loupe. Tiny microchips embedded in the center. Not medication, memory suppressants. Technology disguised as treatment. Woman in window still there. Sign now reads, Sector 7 code, 7R19JTEV. Julian Torres. JT me. Ev. We're connected somehow. Both artists. Both subjects. Both in Sector 7. File recovery, 53% complete. Voice memo whispered, 3:24 a.m. I remembered something crucial tonight. When I worked as Sarah Lynn at the NSA, my specialty wasn't just cryptography, it was steganography. Hiding information inside visual media. Data concealment through images. They didn't choose me randomly. They needed someone who understood how to embed data in plain sight, then erased that knowledge and used my artistic abilities to unwittingly continue the same work. I've been analyzing my paintings. The Cityscape series, it's not just random buildings spliced together. Each structure is real, but modified slightly. Specific windows illuminated. Particular architectural details emphasized. Patterns in the clouds, in the streets, in the flow of traffic. It's a code. A massive, complex visual code. File recovery, 68% complete. Written on wall behind bookshelf, photographed. There was an emergency alert this morning. Another water contamination warning for my building. Then Damien called, insisting on taking me to the hospital for a follow-up treatment. I refused. He sounded panicked. 10 minutes later, my tablet and phone simultaneously displayed a new alert. Protocol violation. Subject EV, 7 memory recovery exceeding acceptable parameters. Immediate intervention required. They know I'm remembering. They're coming for me. I pried up a floorboard in my closet and found a small metal box containing items I have no memory of placing there. A passport in the name of Sarah Lynn with my photo, a USB drive, and a key card for something called Facility Nimosini. Message from window woman has changed. Find Torres. Gallery basement. File recovery, 79% complete. Audio recording from burner phone, 9:17 p.m. I made it out just before they arrived. 3 men in hazmat suits claiming to be from the water department, accompanied by Dr. Chin. I was already on the fire escape, watching through the window as they searched my loft. I heard Chin say, she's accessing cached memories. The backup protocol is failing. I'm hiding in an abandoned construction site 2 blocks from Foster Contemporary. As night falls, I'll make my way to the gallery. If Julian Torres is there, if he's real, if any of this is real, maybe together we can piece together the full truth. My head throbs constantly now. Memories flooding back. NSA security clearances, cryptographic protocols, classified briefings about data concealment techniques. Overlapping with memories of art school, gallery openings, reviews of exhibitions I'm no longer sure ever actually happened. File recovery, 84% complete. Handwritten note found in gallery basement, recovered by unknown party. I found the entrance to the gallery basement. A hidden panel behind storage shelves in the back room. Keypad lock. The key card from my floorboard worked. The basement is vast, much larger than the gallery above. Row upon row of paintings hanging in climate-controlled racks. Not just mine, dozens of artists, all part of the program. Julian's photographs. Myra's sculptures. Works I recognize from galleries and museums around the world. And in the center, a massive computer system. Scanning stations where artworks are analyzed, data extracted. Screens displaying what looks like intelligence briefings compiled from information harvested from our art. I found Julian Torres locked in a small room off the main space. Unconscious but alive. Medical equipment monitoring his brain activity. A label on the door, subject JT11, deep recovery in progress. I was trying to figure out how to disconnect him safely when I heard the elevator. They found me. No time to write more. If you're reading this and you're not one of them, find Reed, Detective Marcus Reed. He may be dead, he may be one of them, but his name is the only other lead I have. File recovery, 91% complete. Security camera footage transcript, Foster Contemporary Gallery basement, 11:42 p.m. Subject EV7 Elise Vega, visible attempting to disconnect monitoring equipment from subject JT, 11 Julian Torres. 4 security personnel enter, led by Dr. Chun and Damian Foster. Dr. Chun, Elise, stop. You don't know what you're doing. His mind is in a vulnerable state. Elise, you mean you're rewriting his memories just like you did to me? Damian, this has gone far enough. The water contamination story isn't holding. We need to move to containment protocol. Dr. Chin, agreed. Elise, please step away from Julian. We're not going to hurt either of you. Your minds are valuable assets. Elise, our minds? Or the information you're filtering through our art? Dr. Chin, both. Project Nemosinist is more important than you can imagine. National security depends on it. Elise, you're stealing our lives. Dr. Chin, we're giving you new ones. Better ones. Do you think Sarah Lynn was happy? A mid-level analyst with no family, no close friends, nothing but her clearance and her weekend painting hobby? We gave you success, recognition, purpose. Elise, you gave me lies. Elise continues disconnecting equipment from Julian. Dr. Chin, restrain her. Security personnel advance. Elise grabs something from nearby table, appears to be a syringe, and holds it to her own neck. Elise, stay back. This is the memory suppressant compound, isn't it? But what happens if I get the whole dose at once? Total amnesia? Or maybe it'll trigger a complete recovery instead? Dr. Chin, Elise, don't. That concentration could cause a neural cascade failure. Your mind would collapse entirely. Elise, better than living another lie. Building-wide alert sounds. Automated voice. Warning, security breach in Sector 7. Unknown entry at Northwest Access Point. All personnel initiate lockdown procedures. Lights flicker. Security personnel look around in confusion. Damian, what the hell? Gunshots heard off camera. Security personnel draw weapons. Dr. Chin, get her away from Torres. Now. As security advances, Elise injects contents of syringe into 4-line connected to Julian rather than herself. Elise, wake up Julian. Subject JT, 11 convulses on table. Monitoring equipment alarms activate. More gunshots, closer. One security guard falls. Others return fire toward unseen target off camera. Smoke fills room, obscuring camera view. Last clear image shows Elise pulling Julian from table as he begins to regain consciousness. Video feed terminates at 11:47 p.m. Emergency broadcast citywide, 12:01 a.m., September 26th. Attention all citizens, police activity in downtown Arts District. Shelter in place until further notice. Reported terrorist incident at Foster Contemporary Gallery. Avoid area. Follow official channels for updates. Be advised, suspects may be suffering from cognitive delusions and should be considered dangerous. Do not approach. Report sightings to emergency services immediately. Text message from unknown number to burner phone, 12:17 a.m. File recovery, 100% complete. Rendezvous at extraction point Alpha. The woman in the window will guide you. Trust only what you remember now, not what they made you remember. R. Audio transcript, Session 19, Subject EV7, Elise Vega, October 17th. Doctor redacted. Tell me about the last thing you remember clearly, Elise. Elise, I remember, the basement. The gallery basement. All those paintings hanging in racks. Not just mine, Julian's photographs, Myra's sculptures. A data farm harvesting our artwork for information. Then Julian convulsing as I injected the compound into his 4. Gunshots. Smoke. Someone pulling us both through a service tunnel. Doctor, redacted. And after that? Elise, fragments. Bright lights. A helicopter, maybe? Someone saying neural stabilization required, over and over. My vision kept shifting between color and grayscale. I couldn't tell if I was Elise or Sarah anymore. Doctor, redacted. You understand now that both identities are yours? Different compartments of the same mind? Elise, so you keep telling me. Pause, is this facility real? Are you real? Doctor redacted. Small laugh, yes, Elise. We're real. This is a secure recovery facility. We're helping subjects of Project Nemo Sinister reclaim their identities and memories. Elise, why should I believe you? The last doctor who said she was helping me was implanting microchips in my medication. Doctor redacted. Fair point. That's why we don't ask for your trust. Only your cooperation while your mind heals. The painting helps, doesn't it? Elise, yes. It's the only time everything feels synchronized. Like I'm both Elise and Sarah simultaneously. Doctor redacted. Then paint. Paint everything you remember, everything you feel. It's therapeutic for you and valuable for our investigation. Elise, that's what Damien used to say. Paint, Elise. Your work is so valuable. Doctor redacted. I'm not Damien Foster. We're not the NSA or their contractors. We're, let's call us concerned citizens with resources. Elise, like Detective Reed? Doctor redacted. Long pause, session concluded for today. Keep painting, Elise. Journal entry, Elise Vega, October 23rd. They've given me a real journal. Paper and pen, not digital. For security, they say, but I think it's because they know I don't trust anything that can be remotely altered anymore. 3 weeks since what they're calling the extraction. 3 weeks in this facility, a converted mountain lodge, from what I can glimpse through my window. Pine trees. Snow. Location unknown. Julian is here too. They keep us apart except for supervised integration sessions twice weekly. His memories are more fractured than mine. 7 years as a government photographer documenting classified sites, then erased and reprogrammed as an urban landscape photographer whose images contained encrypted location data of high-value targets. There are 12 of US artists here total, each remembering 2 lives, our original government roles and our manufactured artistic identities. The doctors say our artistic abilities were always genuine, just repurposed. That's why the selection algorithm chose us for Project Nemo Sinister. People with both technical skills and artistic talent. Perfect vessels for steganographic intelligence transmission. I'm still not convinced these new doctors aren't running an operation of their own. But what choice do I have? The emergency alerts still come through, citywide notifications about mentally unstable fugitives and domestic terrorism. My face, Julian's face, others. Official channels painting us as delusional conspiracy theorists who attacked a respected art gallery. I paint what I remember. Memories of Sarah's NSA cubicle overlapping with Elise's sunlit loft. Faces of handlers and doctors. The basement servers. Sometimes I paint alert screens, their text distorted and threatening. My new doctors analyze everything, scanning for embedded data I might be unconsciously reproducing. They say painting will eventually integrate my fragmented selves. I'm not sure I want that. Sarah feels like a stranger wearing my skin. Elise feels like a beautiful dream I never want to wake from. Therapy notes, unsupervised group session, October 30th. Mira, they told me today that my sculptures were being used to transmit structural weaknesses in foreign defense installations. The contours and negative spaces apparently contain precise measurements that couldn't be detected by normal security scans. Julian, at least that makes sense. They're still being vague about what my city photographs were actually communicating. Elise, because they don't know. Not everything. Project Nemo Sinister was compartmentalized. Different handlers, different extraction methods. Julian, but the same basic approach. Find talented people with specific technical knowledge, erase their memories, give them artistic identities, then use their creative output as covert communication channels. Mira, did either of you ever suspect? Before everything fell apart? Elise, I had dreams. Strange ones. Cities I'd never visited. Codes I couldn't remember learning. I blamed stress, artistic temperament. Bitter laugh, my therapist, my Elise life therapist, said I was just anxious about my upcoming exhibition. Julian, the medication kept everything suppressed for me. Until I started skipping doses. That's when my photographs started changing. I'd shoot one cityscape and develop another. Buildings where there shouldn't be buildings. Elise, did you ever see a woman in a window? Holding signs? Julian, startled, yes. 12th floor of the Westman building. Messages that made no sense at the time. Mira, I never saw her, but I heard voices from my clay. Literal voices, whispers, when I was alone in my studio. Elise, do you think she was real? The window woman? Or some kind of programmed hallucination to guide us? Julian, I don't know. But she helped me find the gallery basement entrance, same as you. Mira, what if we're still in the program? What if this recovery facility is just another layer? Long silence. Elise, then we keep making art. We keep hiding messages in our work. Eventually, someone real will find them. Private studio session, Elise Vega, November 5th. The canvas before me pulses with possibility. They've given me oils today, my preferred medium. A large canvas, 4 feet by 6 feet. More space than I've had since arriving. Paint whatever helps you integrate, Dr. Winters said this morning. Your mind is healing, but there are still walls between your identities. Integration. Such a clinical term for erasing the boundaries between Elise and Sarah. I wonder if anything of either will remain once they fully merge, or if I'll become someone entirely new. The palette knife feels right in my hand. I begin with broad strokes of midnight blue and charcoal black. The city at night, my city, the one I see whether my eyes are open or closed. Not a perfect representation, but an impression of urban geometry through rain-streaked glass. I add crimson slashes for alerts, emergency lights reflecting on wet pavement. Then, working quickly, I begin adding windows. Hundreds of them. Some dark, some illuminated. Specific patterns emerging unconsciously. My hand knows what to do even if my mind doesn't fully understand. In the center, I paint a large loft window, my window, with a silhouette visible inside. Me looking out or in. Both perhaps. As I work, memories surface like bubbles in dark water. Sarah's security clearance badge. The weight of secrets. The first time they showed me paintings I'd created, but couldn't remember making. Damien's satisfied smile when my Cityscapes in Crisis series sold out completely to anonymous buyers. I work for hours without pause. When Dr. Winters returns, she'll scan this painting like all the others, searching for hidden data patterns I might have unconsciously included. Maybe she'll find some. Maybe I want her to. In the bottom right corner, almost hidden by shadow, I paint a small window with a woman's face visible inside. Not my face. Someone I've never met, yet somehow know. Her hand is raised, holding something that could be a sign or a tablet. If you look closely, and few would, there's text on it, tiny but precise. Still watching. Stay ready. A message to myself, perhaps. Or to whoever finds this painting if I disappear again. A reminder that integration may not be the goal after all. That fragmentation has its purposes. That art conceals as much as it reveals. I step back, surveying my work. It's done. Whether it's Elise's artistic vision or Sarah's cryptographic training that guided my hand, I cannot say. Perhaps both. Perhaps neither. On the surface, it's just a moody urban nightscape. The doctors will see what they expect to see. They'll declare it evidence of therapeutic progress, integration proceeding as planned. But I know better. Something is hidden in this painting. A map, a code, a warning. I'm not entirely sure. But I felt it emerging as I worked, my fingers remembering what my mind still struggles to grasp. The true restoration isn't about recovering who I was, but discovering who I might become with both sets of knowledge intact. I rinse my brushes methodically, watching paint swirl down the drain in ribbons of color. Blue, black, crimson, the colors of my divided mind. Through my studio window, I can see fresh snow falling on pine trees. Peaceful, isolated. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wails, a fire truck, a police car, something ordinary and innocent. Yet my pulse quickens at the sound. Old habits, old programming. I glance again at my painting, at the woman in the window with her tiny message. Integration may never be complete. Perhaps it shouldn't be. Perhaps the fractures are where the light gets in. End of session recording.